It will shatter your reality.
All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland, and our guest tonight is Ben Radford. We had Ben on, I want to say maybe 2 years ago, covering his book Bad Clowns at the time, and today we're going to cover a few more topics from the angle of skepticism, which is the angle that Ben comes from. So why don't you explain a little bit about that? I seem to remember that you were a ghost hunter that finally just said, screw it, I'm going the other angle, but give us a little backstory for our listeners.
Sure. Yeah. So I actually wear many hats. I mean, obviously not at the moment, but metaphorically. So yeah, I come from a background in a couple of things. One is journalism. So I'm a journalist. Both my grandparents were journalists. My father's a journalist. So I've always been interested in trying to find ways to explore something from like investigative journalism point of view. And sort of,
that takes so much work. It's a lot easier just to throw out questions than it is.
It is.
Very easy when you just make stuff up.
Yeah, when you just make stuff, it's that's the easy thing to do. But I mean, I've always felt like that. I mean, I love mysteries. Mysteries are cool. I spent much of my life investigating mysteries. But at the end of the day, mysteries are a dime a dozen. It takes almost nothing to create a mystery. All you need is to tell some story and to leave out important parts of the story. Right. So same thing with the UFOs or Bigfoot sightings or ghost sightings. All you need to create a mystery is something weird that somebody saw in the sky over else. And so again, mysteries are fun, interesting, and intriguing. But really, I think that the solutions and the explanations are what's valuable. Right. It's part of the scientific process. The default condition of humans is ignorance. We don't know, what's on Mars. We don't know what's in other countries. We don't know, what's causing disease, whatever else. And so it's through scientific analysis and investigation that we learn things. And all I try to do is apply that to these mysteries investigations. And again, bringing in folklore, and I do a lot of stuff in folklore, as you all recall from Bad Clowns, and trying to bring in critical thinking and investigation to the topics, and just sort of see, okay, well, these are weird, interesting, cool things. How do we know what's true about them? How do we determine what parts are just completely made up, what parts are mistakes and misunderstandings, and what parts maybe are actually real?
Right. So I thought about this with journalists in general, and like, let's for the sake of argument say I murdered my neighbor, and a journalist comes to my house, and thinking about it. Yeah.
Someone check
and
on
journalist
Chauncey's
comes to my
neighbor.
house and says, "Hey, we want to get the story. We want to hear from you." And I'm all, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want anything to do with that. I can imagine that you have this problem a lot with researching these stories, that when it comes to direct quotes from the people, do you get pushback and they're all, no, we know about you. You're trying to ruin our mystery. Because
right,
mysteries are hard. It's easy to create a mystery. It's not easy to get people to give a crap. Right. So these people put a lot of effort into getting people to care about their mystery.
Right, that's true.
Oh no, default ringtone.
Oh my God.
Who they put a lot of effort into getting people to care about their mystery.
Sure. And
then here you are coming along trying to undo that part that they find so important for the part that you find important. Do you get a lot of pushback out of that?
That's actually a good question. And the answer is this sort of depends on what it is. So some of the mysteries I investigate are historical mysteries. So for example, I investigated a crop circle that appeared across from Stonehenge in 1997. I investigated the origin of chupacabra, as you guys know. I investigated the mystery of the Chase Vault, which is this vault in Barbados that allegedly kept getting opened by ghosts or something like that. So if it's a historical mystery, then there are people that believe in it, but there's nobody who really have a vested interest. I mean, there are people who will see what I'm saying. It's like, their livelihood is not threatened by me solving the mystery.
Right.
And then in other cases, the
UFOs.
Right, UFOs. Or I'll give you one. I'll give you a more recent example. Is I often investigate psychic detectives, So this is this is something. I've done this for a long time. And in fact, just about a year or two ago, I investigated a case that made national news. And it was the case of a young boy named Harley Dilly, who disappeared in Ohio. And I won't go into the whole story, but basically this young boy, I think he was 7 or 10 or something, he went missing, and it was this huge mystery because he just vanished. No one knew where he was, and was he abducted, or what was going on. And I actually began investigating that in real time. That is, I saw this case. I said, hold on, my tentacles, my antenna went up, and I said, I'll bet you that psychics are going to be chiming in on this. And sure enough, they did. And so I followed the case. And unfortunately, the boy was found dead. But it was an accident. It was not an abduction or anything nefarious or malicious. And the psychics, who I name, and in fact, I did a podcast about it, and I wrote up an article in Skeptical Inquirer magazine. I said, look, these alleged psychic detectives, not only did they get the information wrong, not only did they give misinformation, like literally wrong information, to police and the boy's family, but they also they wasted police resources. They raised all sorts of different things, and they got it wrong. And so in those cases, I mean, again, I didn't shy away from naming the psychic, because it's all public record, right? And so, so in those cases, I mean, I haven't heard back. I sometimes am careful what mail I open, because by virtue of what I do, it sometimes pisses people off. If I expose a hoax, if I say, look, this psychic detective was flat out wrong, and here's the proof, they don't like that, because I'm making it public, and I'm not doing it to be mean. I'm not doing it to ruin their livelihood. I'm doing it because someone needs to investigate these things and determine whether or not this is real or not. So in those cases, I get pushback. But just to finish answering your question, so other cases, for example, ghost cases, or Bigfoot sightings, or animal sightings, or mysterious creature sightings, oftentimes the approach that I take is asking the eyewitnesses or the experiencers to help me investigate. So I don't go in and say, well, I know everything. I've written all these books, blah, blah, blah. I know that I have these degrees. Listen to me. I'm the expert. I say, look, I've been investigating this. I've been doing these investigations for 20 years now. I've done a lot of research. I don't know what's going on. I wasn't there. You say you saw a ghost. You say you saw a Bigfoot. You say whatever else. I'm not saying you're lying. I don't know. You might be true. You might be, what you're saying might be true. Help me understand the circumstances behind this. And when I frame it that way, when I say, look, I'm not here to debunk you. I'm not trying to make fun of you. I sincerely don't know what you experienced. I don't think it's a ghost. I don't think it's a Bigfoot. I don't think it's XYZ. It might be. Help me understand this. And so when I come into it with an open mind, that tends to get people being more sympathetic and saying, okay, well, he's sincere. I mean, he's here spending his time, energy, help, so in those cases, I get buy-in from them, and that helps, because then oftentimes that helps them, it helps them accept the results of my investigation. Because if they see that I'm listening to them, I'm looking at their evidence, I'm not ignoring them, not making fun of them, I'm there trying to figure out what's going on. They, okay, well, all right, it probably wasn't a ghost, but at least he looked into it.
So you do feel that a lot of those people genuinely believe what they're coming to you with, and would be happy maybe that it was disproven, because it's scary.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it depends on what it is. So, in some cases, people have, for example, if I'm talking to a ghost hunter or a psychic medium, they have a vested interest in believing that ghosts are real and that they're actually helping these spirits move to the other side and so on, because that's part of their identity. They're like, what do? I help, dead souls transition. And you talk to them, and they're sincere people. And I know many of them personally, and they recognize that I don't share their beliefs in these things. But for the most part, they're sincere, they're honest, they're not hoaxing, they're not liars. They're simply they're simply approaching this from what I would argue is a less than critical thinking point of view. But in some cases, like for example, I did a book chapter on a woman that contacted me saying that she was cursed, and she was genuinely frightened. I mean, and so she asked me, I think I'm cursed. Can you help me? And it was difficult, right? Because I mean, I have a degree in psychology, but I'm not a psychologist. I'm not really qualified to do this. I don't want to just say, go away or you're wrong, whatever else. And so I worked with her and I tried to sort of take her through the process of helping her investigate whether or not she's truly cursed. And in the end, she said I helped her, which is gratifying to me because I managed to bring critical thinking and skepticism and psychology to it and actually help somebody instead of just sort of being, these things aren't real, go away. It's like, okay, well, you help people through it.
Clothing values are high and the prices are low.
No.
That's why at Robert Hall you save